Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Whoa! 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 I don't know what we're doing. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched the Lovebirds.
Lovebirds.
Couple Lovebirds over here.
The Lovebirds. The Lovebirds.
Love a bird.
Lovebirds.
Words are fun.
He's fucking dead.
We know he's dead, but we didn't kill him.
He like to report a murder or whatever.
We didn't murder anybody.
1, 2, 3, go.
No.
Jabron! Okay, the guy's name is Jabron.
Run, Leilani.
And the girl's name's actually Leilani. She's running too now. Kind of slowly, like she's wearing heels that look actually amazing.
We have to go to the police because we have nothing to hide.
So why did you run from the scene of the crime?
Good question, officer.
That's me covering up my body cam so I can beat your ass.
It's fun when you say them a different way than they're intended to be said.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's comedy.
That's comedy. That's the root of comedy.
I guess we should get right into it. I mean, I want to say we've been pretty lucky because we've had like backup plans for weeks where there hasn't been new releases. Mm-hmm. But there's generally been some
people
new
are
releases.
They're putting shit out on streaming networks.
Yeah, we could have watched this. We could have watched the one where Simon Pegg is in a basement. I mean, I'm still going to watch that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to watch that too.
It's not getting great reviews, Tom, but it's Simon Pegg in a basement. What do you want? What do you want?
From that promise, I want Simon Pegg to be in a basement.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that's all I'm looking for, then, buddy, that movie delivers.
Right. Yeah. So we watched this instead. It's on the Netflix. Mm-hmm. Tom, what did you think of this movie?
I thought this movie was very okay. I could really see where the rewrites happened.
There were rewrites, you say?
Oh yeah. I'm
looking at it now. There's a lot of people attached to this.
Yeah, when it's a comedy starring Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae. It was supposed to come out in April, but obviously that didn't happen. So Netflix picked up the rights and they just put it out this weekend. And when Kumail and Issa got on board, they tweaked the script to be more in line with their comedic sensibilities. And you can really tell because the movie comes to a screeching halt for them to do bits.
Yes.
And it's kind of irritating.
Yeah. Okay. Yes and no. My overall thought is and maybe this is about my state of mind, but I found this movie delightful and exactly what I needed.
It's fine. It's very fine.
I found it. Yeah, I guess ultimately, I have an overall note about this type of comedy. This is directed by Michael Showalter, by the way.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah. He also directed The Big Sick.
No shit, really? Mm-hmm. I love Michael Showalter. He's killing it.
Yeah.
I remember, he did Role Models, right?
He did do Role Models. Well, no, I think...
no, was that another person from Stella?
David Wayne did Role Models, yeah. It was another state person, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. But yeah, man, I gotta watch The Big Sick again. I really liked that. Yeah, I know. All right, here's... Okay. It feels like there's two types of comedies out there, right? It's kind of like horror movies now. Uh-huh. Like there's the horror movie that's about something a lot more profound now, and they really shove it out there. And then there's the ones that are just like, I don't know. I don't want to compare. I'm not saying this movie's like this, but like The Nun, where it's like, this is just a jump scare fest.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a comedy version of that too.
This is the jump scare equivalent of comedy. Yes, it is.
Yes. The difference is I'm way less pissed off by the jump scare equivalent of comedy.
I am,
because it's not trying to shock me, it's trying to make me laugh. So if it makes me laugh, then I am more forgiving.
Yes. This still pisses me off sort of in an equal way, because every single laugh I got from this movie was from a non sequitur that they just happened to say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like, it's just it feels like it's not directly the Apatow style of comedy, but it's related in that it's just there's a movie that these two characters are in, and they're just fucking riffing on stuff that has nothing to do with what's happening, and that's where the jokes come from.
Right, the jokes are that they're funny people.
Yeah, that bothers me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much. I'm fine with that. I think what does bother me, I guess, with movies like this is I want to call it the attempt at sincerity. There
are some weird moments where this movie tries to be sincere, and it's like, fuck off.
And I think this movie it didn't piss me off as much as, say, like Tag, because Tag's attempt at sincerity was batshit.
Tag is a fascinating movie, and we should do a podcast about Tag.
But I think there's some movies, like with comedies. Yeah, we should probably talk about Tag. There's some movies that it's like, you have to have it. You have to have it. So I understand with a comedy like this, where they're like, well, they have to have some sort of growth, and it's like, yeah, they could have kind of just went on this adventure together.
Right. We didn't need it to be. The movie is about Issa and Kumail are a couple that have been dating for several years, and
who I think are killing it. I think they're both killing it. I know what you mean with the comedy coming to the screeching halt.
Yeah,
but I think they're doing a great job.
Oh no, they're both great charismatic performers. But they play a couple that they break up on the way to like a friend's party, and then they hit a guy with their car, and the guy runs away, and then fucking scumbag ass Paul Sparks carjacks them, and he's like, I'm a cop. Right. We got to catch this guy. He murders that guy and then runs off.
Knowing, like, this is one of the few times where it benefited from knowing the trailer, because when they're like, come on, get him, go get him, and they're like helping him pursue the guy, it was very funny, because I know what it's going to lead to.
Right.
Which is just the man's murder.
Yeah. And so the rest of the movie is them hiding from the police while trying to solve the murder.
Yes. And this is where I give the film the most credit. One of the things is that this has what I've decided to call a Billy Madison plot, which was you have to get these characters in an absolutely impossible situation for it to start. And so you have to create a situation where the main characters do not go to the police immediately.
Yes.
And they did okay at that. But what I appreciated is that the reveal is that, no, they are dummies. Because the cops the whole time were like, of course we didn't. Spoilers.
Right, yeah.
The cops are like, of course we didn't think you did it.
I did.
There's
really,
like traffic cams.
Yeah, I did really like that reveal where the detective was like, no, we have traffic cam footage. Like, we know you guys didn't do it. We've been trying to call you all day because you're witnesses.
Yeah, what I wanted from it that they didn't do is I wanted them to have this realization of like, oh, are we both idiots? Like, oh, we overreacted. Like, they never they do a little of that. I mean, because they are like the way it works is that they're both people in very smart jobs who are acting very dumb. Yes. And I like that. I like that idea. Who have no sensibilities, like no street smarts, essentially, in this one situation. And I like that idea. But they sort of, like you said, the comedy is kind of all over the place.
Right, and we don't even learn what Issa Rae does until about halfway through the film.
Right. She's ad agency.
She's an ad agency,
which I like that joke. I like the joke with the nerdy guy when they're getting tortured and he's explaining the ad.
Yeah. No, the jokes are funny. It's just they have nothing to do with the story, and that's my problem.
That's fair. It's not building consistent characters, I don't think, either.
Oh, no, hell no. Like, these characters don't make any sense.
Right.
They just do whatever the scene needs them to do.
Yeah. I feel like that's a little bit of Showalter in there. Because Showalter is, The Big Sick, The Big Sick is...
Well, it's a very...
He directed it, but that's a very different tone.
It's a very different... Yeah, and that was an extremely personal script that Kumail had
exactly. So I feel
with his
like...
wife. So it's like that was a very specific thing. I think Showalter... Specifically, when you look at like The State and like what David Wayne has done, because I think he's directed more than Showalter has.
Right. Both the things they direct, though, it's very clear that they really like non sequiturs. They really like it.
Yeah, their
when
brand.
Things are,
what I was going to say is their brand of comedy is chaos.
Yes. And I almost wanted more chaos because it felt like they were fighting it. You know what the I would compare it to as well, actually, and they do it better. But it still always bugged me, is whenever Broken Lizard has a romantic subplot, I'd be like, nah, I don't need this, guys.
Yeah, I don't need this.
Yeah, like I know that this is what movies have, but you're clearly doing something different. And I almost wanted this to go more in the direction of chaos. Where
if this had been completely chaotic.
And it is to an extent.
It's not, though. Like, it reminds us every single scene that it wants us to believe that these are real people in a real relationship.
Oh yeah, I mean, in the situation is chaotic, and the thing they get thrown into keeps unfolding more and more into something weirder.
Right. I think this movie would have benefited from just jettisoning that, and just being like, hey, let's just have these two people are, sure, they're a couple, they're in a relationship, fine, but they're not going to behave like real people. Nobody in this movie is going to behave like real people.
Right. Well, again, it's the hard line. It's the are you making Booksmart or are you making like Game Night? Are you making a movie where everybody's absurd, or are you making a movie where it's a grounded comedy? And it's a very hard line, and I think this is trying to walk it a little too much.
Yeah, I think Game Night it was more successful as a comedy, at least for me.
Yeah, I didn't care for that movie, and maybe I watched it in a bad mood or something, because I know a lot of people like it.
Well, I think apart from...
I also find comedies tough. I don't seek out comedies.
Yeah, I generally don't. I think... I'm trying to articulate what's the main difference between Game Night and this movie, because they're extremely similar. They're both about couples that find themselves
on a crazy adventure
in a real life murder mystery.
It's a whole genre, like the Vacation remake, which of course is a remake or reboot of the original version of this, which is a couple going on a crazy adventure. It's the people who it's kind of the Dan Harmon story circle.
I think like in Vacation and in Game Night, I think one of the X factors is that the primary couple has to be unified.
Well, they get tested throughout. In Vacation, their relationship is tested. But yeah, I know what you mean. I don't mind the idea of this starts as two people who've just broken up, but it does create a problem. Yeah,
but it winds up not mattering.
Well, yeah, and it also creates that problem where it's like, no, don't get back together. You guys clearly weren't working out.
Right. Right. Like, it's not like this didn't strengthen your relationship.
Well, okay, I will give them props for something, is that the things they are fighting about at the beginning are very superficial. It's not a big I thought they did a good job with the relationship where it's like they're extremely annoying and they're just fighting for the first like 10 minutes of the movie, but the stuff they're fighting about isn't like it
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Exactly. It's petty bullshit. They're fighting about and I liked that because it does mean that, like, to me, like, oh, they are fixable. They do like each other. Like, they're kind of getting along while arguing. They're playing off each other comedically.
Yes, and I'm not sure how much of that was for the movie and how much of that was just the two of them performing.
Right, but it worked for me because it was like, that's one of those comedy things where it's like, oh, who would have thought every character is extremely funny and charismatic? But that's like the Ghostbusters. That's every comedy.
You see, that didn't work for me because as a person, like, I mean, I've been married for a long time, and Maureen and I dated for a long time before that. I just was like perceiving, okay, they're just arguing about some stupid bullshit, and then they break up at the end of it. It felt very like they very suddenly steered into some deep personal shit.
Right. Well,
and that felt extremely artificial to me. It was because I did not get the sense that they were going to break up until they suddenly break up.
Right.
Because they're just arguing about restaurants and like who her friends are. Like this is like, yeah, okay, this is just like normal shit. Like
right, but it does start escalating into something deeper. I thought.
I don't think it escalated. I think it jumped to the. It jumped to.
I thought the idea
Kumail
was that
saying, "I don't want to be with somebody who's so superficial," and then her saying, "I don't want to be with somebody who's a failure."
Right. I thought the idea, because they start arguing about The Amazing Race, and like I like the concept of that, is they start arguing about The Amazing Race, and by the time they're in the car, they're breaking up over something a lot bigger than what they started the argument about.
But it's not related to it.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is that it is related, because she wants to do The Amazing Race. He thinks they'll fail. He disguises it under like that's dumb, and he thinks she's being superficial to want to be on a reality TV show. So like it's like maybe there's stuff cut out. Maybe I'm doing too much work for them, but I understood the connection of like a fight that starts very small and then just keeps escalating into the larger problem that they have with each other. I will say that it felt like they kept creating new issues, or I don't know. Again, my overall note is take out the sincerity.
Yeah.
Like it didn't seem like it was needed. Like it's one of those things where it's like there's enough drama going on.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind that argument, because I did find Camille very, very irritating in that argument, though.
Yeah, it's it's that was the other thing about that argument, is that the whole like I said, it seemed artificial. The whole thing seemed artificial. Like
right.
Kumail's being loud and shouty about things that nobody is loud and shouty about.
Right.
And it's like, it's okay, I can tell this is performative. Like this.
See, they should have just done an argument about The Amazing Race and then they break up.
Sure.
Like they should have done it more absurd or something. But they needed to bring it back to something, I don't know, more human.
Yeah.
In that argument.
I don't know. It's dumb.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's a comedy. It's again, jump scare version of comedy, which is that we just have to get them there. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not if the character goes into the graveyard for the third time. It doesn't matter. We need to get that jump scare. So it's just we have to get them there. We have to get them from each comedy piece to the next.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't mind that as much, but when they, going back to the Broken Lizards guys, they at least seem to be more self-aware that it didn't matter. Like in Beer Fest with Landfill. Like those moments where they just throw away the plot because they're like, whatever.
Their movies are more focused, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Like look at The Slammin' Salmon. That's an extremely focused comedy.
I love that. I love that fucking movie.
It's a great movie. It's a great comedy, and it's a very tightly written script. This movie feels extremely underwritten.
Well, it just
This movie feels like an excuse for the two main characters to do bits.
Right, and I guess the issue is, like we already said, there's like 1 million of these.
Yes.
There's 1 million of these couple or group of friends go on a crazy adventure that's unlike anything that anybody has ever done. They witness a crime. They get into this weird society. They go on a wacky adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been very overdone. So it really, for me, it comes down to, do I like the two people in it, or the people in it? And in this case, I did.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have turned this movie off if the two leads were not played by the people who they are played by.
Right. And I do think it needs to be like, all right, Well, we did a best bad movie on the Vacation movie, and I did it. That movie the remake is better than I thought. I generally like Ed Helms, right?
Sure.
But I don't think he's a stand-up comedian.
Not to my knowledge.
He's not a writer, right?
Not to my knowledge. I think he might have improv background, but I don't actually know that much about Ed Helms.
Yeah, I hope I'm not wrong here. I get the impression, like, I guess going to tag, like all right. Ed Helms is a bad example. Actually, I shouldn't have used him. Jeremy Renner in Tag.
Sure.
Like, he's not writing his own bits. He's just saying the lines. And I think that hurts comedies a lot with stuff like these movies where it's just we're going to keep doing bits. Mm-hmm. Because it's not tightly written.
I looked him up real quick. He trained in UCB.
Okay. Because I get the impression a lot of these movies are just like in the script they're like, and then they'll improv.
Yeah, and then they'll say some funny shit because they're funny.
Yeah. And
it's like, and it won't have anything to do with the story or what's happening on screen. It'll just be a random aside about a cigarette lighter or about a song on the radio.
The cigarette lighter was actually in the plot.
Came back, but man, at the time, did that feel like it was just fucking wedged into the movie.
Oh, 100%.
And there's more moments that, like the cigarette lighter, where it's just the actors step outside of what's happening to just talk about
the milkshake. They set up the cigarette. What they're trying to do is they set up the milkshake thing and to set up the cigarette lighter, but it feels very forced. Where he makes the comment of like, "Why did they bring the extra cup with the milkshake?"
It's just him doing a bit.
Yeah, and it was a fun bit. I enjoyed the bit.
It's Chris Rock in Lethal Weapon 4, where the movie just stops.
Yes,
so he can do his stand-up routine.
Or Chris Rock in any Chris Rock movie,
right?
Where he stops. And I might remind you, I love Chris Rock movies. So I guess I'm a sucker for when a character randomly goes into a tight five.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're going to make a comedy, write the comedy from within the story that you're making. Don't pause the story and just have your characters do a fucking non sequitur that has nothing to do with what's going on to get the jokes out.
Yeah, you make the conversation funny.
Exactly.
You don't make them. Yeah. In fairness to Chris Rock, they work his shit in more organically than Lethal Weapon 4. I mean, it's never organic, but
they don't though.
It's sort of like
they still just fucking pause the movie. Like, it's not organic at all in this film.
Not in this film. I was saying in other Chris Rock films.
Chris Rock's movie. Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of, you know what it's like? It's like when you're watching a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie and you're like, well, they're going to need to do a split at some point. We're going to have to figure out a reason for him to do a split. Mm-hmm. And so it's that. It's like, okay, they're going to have to do a bit at some point. But yeah, this, it's funny because it's both organic and non-organic because they set up the milkshake. And then when they do the lighter, she's like, oh, not the milkshake stuff again. And you're like, I was thinking, like, what is going on here? And then when they bring back the lighter, it was like, they didn't need the bits to establish that cars have lighters in them.
No, and also I don't think that would work. Like,
the lighter to burn
I don't think you could use a lighter to melt a zip tie without severely injuring yourself.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never tried. I've never had to.
That's true.
It's as good as any other movie logic, though. Like, I'm not gonna mind that because this is it's an adventure comedy.
Sure,
it's like fucking whatever. I don't know what that bad guy was doing.
Yeah, he didn't. Like, he didn't make much sense.
But again, that's most of these. Again, it's the problem with this type of comedy is that they don't really put much thought into the plot.
No.
They just trying to get them from one thing to the next,
right? And then they abandon. That's my problem with it. That's my main problem with this movie, is if you're going to have such an extreme plot like this couple witnesses a murder and gets entangled in like an Illuminati conspiracy, fucking draw the jokes from that, and they absolutely don't.
I like them witnessing the orgy.
Witnessing the orgy is like one of the only examples of it.
That was fantastic. I thought. I like the bit where they're walking down, like all that stuff of them in this environment that they don't. I don't know. I think when they're getting tortured, when they're interrogating the guy, these are all parts. I don't think there's that. I mean, there certainly is a good amount, but I think there are a lot of scenes where the comedy is coming from the situation that they're in and them trying to get something. Interrogating, like, I love the fucking Third Eye Blind, the weird bros, and them fighting them.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to interrogate and not really knowing how to do it, and like kicking the heel thing with the Mythbusters, like those are all bits that come from the scenes and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a few times where they stop and they do these non sequiturs, but I don't think it's as much as other comedies.
Yeah.
I think they got the general idea right, is that it's a couple who just broke up who are forced to have to work together to accomplish stuff. Unlike the bit with the grease versus the horse, like, it's an absurd situation and they're trying to navigate through it, but they're not like randomly coming out with things. Every now and then there'll be little comments like the fuckboy thing where he's like, am I using fuckboy right? But that's in context of the
right, yeah.
of the scene. So I didn't think they did. I do think it was kind of tightly written in some scenes.
Oh, no. Absolutely.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. Can you explain to me what the overall conspiracy was?
I said in some scenes.
Yeah, maybe in
like
some
there's sequences that are more tightly written.
I won't say that it was tightly written. I say it was more focused in some scenes, but this screenplay is a fucking mess.
Well, yeah, they never get into the conspiracy. They never get into... It's the problem with these comedies, is that the big broad adventure, it doesn't amount to anything.
A movie like Game Night still pulls it off.
I guess the fucking reveal of Game Night, isn't it? Jesse Plemons felt left out.
No, it's a double reveal.
Yeah,
part of it is him, and then the actual bad guy, who is fucking Dexter, shows up. Michael C. Hall. Yep.
I mean, that's a ridiculous premise, but I will say this movie is like that, even worse, where it's like, yeah, I didn't feel like I met the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's the cop, obviously, but like what the conspiracy was, the weird Illuminati, the Eyes Wide Shut party, like I got the gist of it, but it did feel like I needed more answers by the end.
Yeah, it's very breezy about its murder plot, which is absurd. If this is the thing that you're going to focus on for your comedy, is the fact that it's a regular couple in this extreme situation. The fact that you don't really think about the extreme situation is a huge flaw to me.
Yeah, I think the joke was, it's the part where the cop at the end is like, no, we knew about them, everything's fine. Where the idea is that it does make the movie meaningless, but that's what I liked, is that everything they did didn't matter.
Yeah.
They were not helping at all.
Nope.
They were, in fact, just confusing the authorities.
Yes.
And I like that reveal. I like that joke of them just like realizing that, and the cops being like...
I feel like they could have dwelled on it more.
Yeah.
Because the reveal was more like, oh, we never thought you were guilty. It should have dwelled on more that everything you've done has not only been useless, but actually detrimental to the investigation.
Right. I think that would have been a funnier thing to almost end on. Like, I don't know if I needed the third act, the cop. Like, I like the idea of them just fucking Burn After Reading style, where it's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, if they just got like chewed out by like a cop being like, you guys have made this so much harder and you've caused so much problems for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been funnier if the realization is like, oh, we're the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a little bit, but not that much. Again, it's I think comedies like this, I don't know if it's producers getting involved, but that's what Tag felt like to me as well, is that someone was like, we need to give it more. We need something. We need
it needs an emotional arc.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that where they're like, we need them to like save the day. And it's like, no, we don't. we don't need them to save the day. But like clearly someone thought they did, so they had to add in all that. Like it's again, it's like if you're gonna make an absurd comedy, then just make it absurd.
Just make it absurd. They should have gone full absurdist in this movie.
Yeah.
They should have.
Yeah, I think that would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
It's the PG-13 thing. It's like when we watched Dracula Untold, and it was like it's got to be gritty and dark, but not too bloody.
Not
and it's
too
like,
bloody. Well, then what's
it's going to be then it's going to be for nobody.
Then
It's
what
like,
are we doing?
And like it's like either make it ridiculously absurd or make it a more grounded comedy. Make The Big Sick, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But in between, it always like whenever I see for the most part, not all the time, but whenever I see like Jason Bateman in a comedy, I usually know, oh no, that's not for me, because it's usually that middle of the road. Or although I did like Horrible Bosses,
specifically Colin Farrell.
Yeah, I was about to say Colin Farrell. But you know what I mean? Ed Helms has that problem with me too. It's that middle of the road. It's that middle of the road comedy, and I don't mean in terms of what the comedy is or the rating, if it's rated R or something. It's the level of absurdity. Mm-hmm. It's we're gonna have someone get kicked by a horse and not have to immediately go to a hospital
or be dead.
Yeah, that's a problem. I've known someone get kicked by a horse. That's a big problem
because he would be dead.
Yeah,
if he got kicked full on in the chest by two horse feet.
I mean, I know somebody got kicked in the head, and
oof,
they survived. They're fine. It was a problem at the time. It was a hospital, one of them hospital problems.
Yeah,
yeah. So like that's what I mean. It's like that's absurd. But then they're trying to have a grounded relationship, and it's like, pick a lane.
Yeah,
I get it. Also, I like that. This movie felt like to me, I feel like they had an entire department devoted to hiding the fact that Kumail was ripped, like that he's totally jacked. Did they film this while he was jacked, right?
I think they filmed this while he started to get jacked.
While he was getting jacked.
Yes.
Like when they take off his shirt, like it felt like they were avoiding it.
Yeah, they don't show it. They just show him from the neck up.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a comedy thing where they're like, well, we can't have him jacked.
Well, and then you see him in his his long sleeve T-shirt. He clearly has pecs. So.
Right. But then, like, half of these jokes where he can't fight, it's like, I kept thinking that. I was like, come on, Kumail, just beat him up.
Oh, right, yeah, like in that scene, yeah, when they're interrogating the guy, like, yes, my immediate response is like, yeah, Kumail, fuck him up.
Yeah, fuck him up, Kumail. I know you can.
I know you're ripped now.
Yeah.
So, fuck that little twerp up.
Yeah, just pick him up and break him over your knee.
And so that guy was beating him, and I was like, nope, I don't accept this.
Yeah. I think they knew.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of comedic, like Jonah Hill losing all that weight. I feel like Hollywood was like, hey man, I don't know about this.
Well, they always have him. They have him in long sleeve shirts. They have him in jackets. They did the same thing to Topher Grace through most of Spider-Man 3.
Is he jacked?
He is. He got jacked for Spider-Man 3, and they hide it for most of the movie.
Oh, because he has to become jacked.
Correct, yes.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's why he's always wearing like big shirts and baggy sweatshirts and shit.
Right.
So they do the same thing to Kumail in this movie.
Yeah. Only at no point is he supposed to become jacked. So they're just like, oh man. That's silly.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
They couldn't. We didn't have for Topher. We didn't have the Captain America technology yet. We didn't make him scrawny.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't have that yet.
Yeah. No, I get your issues. It's funny because I'm like the first person to go after comedies for what you're talking about, and so I think it's just that I sincerely liked these two. I liked their chemistry.
Yeah, I liked these two actors. I don't know that they necessarily had chemistry.
I think they had comedic chemistry.
Like they were. I don't know that they had that either. To be perfectly honest, it felt like. I mean, it felt like they could be fine on stage together, but it didn't really feel like they were playing off of each other. It felt like they each had their own comedic agenda, that they were just performing, and the other person, they had enough chemistry with each other for the other person to like accept it in a way that didn't undercut or undermine it, but I didn't feel like they were really playing off of each other.
I didn't feel like they were trying to one up or anything. It didn't feel like a Apatow situation where everybody's just going around the table saying jokes.
Yeah. No, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like it felt to me like that they were each just a really good audience for the other person.
Right.
They didn't really play off of each other or like contribute to each other. They just sort of were good enough to be like, I'm going to accept the joke and not, I'm going to let the joke, like I have enough sense to let this joke play.
They wouldn't play off each other so much as they would like parrot each other. Like like, you know, when she's talking about the nerdy guy who she fucked.
Yeah.
Camille just keeps repeating what she's saying, which I did think was the appropriate thing for that scene because they're panicked. But I know what you mean where it wasn't as like, there wasn't that much back and forth. I thought the romantic chemistry was a little off.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think they had much chemistry.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Because they are, I mean, yeah. Again, it's hard to tell because it felt, the romantic stuff felt so forced.
Yes.
I would have liked to know what the original version of this was and if it was better or worse.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I get the idea. This happens all the time. You know, like you get like Will Smith on a project and they're going to change everything. Because
they have to make it a Will Smith thing.
Right. You get a comedian, you get a specific comedian on. It's like, well, you gotta make it theirs, right? I'm looking up the writer, and this one did. Jesus, I think these were dramas that this one did. I wonder if this was like. I like to think this was like a drama first.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
One of them wrote for Hannibal. That's fucked up.
The TV show?
Yeah, the TV show.
All right.
Oh no, they had a couple of comedies in here. It's not. It's weird. I mean, whatever. Writers. The story. There's like two people for story by. Oh, they're the same people. Oh, I see. Okay, this is fucking weird. It's actually just three people. They just credit them more than once, and they all worked on like kind of the same stuff. One of them worked on Stargate Atlantis. I don't know these people's lives. I guess who knows? They worked on something called Blind Spot. Never.
Oh yeah, that's the movie that's basically a memento of the show.
Oh, why would you do that?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know why I needed an answer from you on that.
But you demanded one.
Yeah. Well, I demanded it from the world. You just happen to be here.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you also found it funny. So like
I did. I thought it was
a matter of
funny.
taste.
Like it was.
See, like when we did Best Bad Movie for Your Highness, my fundamental issue was I just didn't find it very funny. And it's that thing where it's like either you find it funny or you don't. What are you going to do? But yeah, I think your criticism is very valid, which is that it's symptomatic of, you know, what has happened to comedies.
Yeah, it's a bad movie, but there's some good jokes in it.
Yeah, I really liked. What does he say about getting mouth fucked by the
mouth fucked by the Dead Sea? Yep.
By the Dead Sea.
Yeah, and that was a thing that had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, they were just talking about too salty of a restaurant or something like that.
A too salty tapas place. It was a thing that had nothing to do with anything.
This is okay. I don't mind the beginning argument because the idea is that we're
learning about the relationship. Yeah.
Yes, and if they kept doing that more, if they kept breaking into arguments that were like weren't privy to, but it's funny because they're so weird or they're so specific. They clearly they're so oddly specific.
Yeah, they should have done that more.
Yeah. They do the thing where they use their power of argument to beat the bad guy. They have the 1, 2, 3 bit. I feel like was there something else where two people start arguing and it's like that's like an action
Lethal
movie
Weapon
trope. Yeah, you're right. I think that's in a lot of movies.
It's in a lot of movies, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just needed this movie.
That's fair.
I
That
can't
is
defend
fair.
it because everything you're saying is correct. I was delighted.
I mean,
the entire time.
It's funny. It's funny. It's very light. It's under 90 minutes. It's only 87 minutes long.
Yeah, that helped. I think everybody needs a dumb comedy every now and then.
Sure, yeah.
It's just that, if you don't like the people in it or something like that, although you enjoy these two,
I do, yeah. I like them.
Yeah. I know, I was just ready for it. I just needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have I've been watching a bunch of like serious spy dramas and shit.
I know.
needed
Yeah,
something.
I think that's why we decided not to do the Simon Pegg basement movie. At least for me, like I was like, I need something that's not so grim.
Yeah.
Week.
Well, I don't know. There's something delightful about keeping Simon Pegg in your basement.
That's true.
It's like
More
it's
of
like
us should keep Simon Peggs in our basements.
Right. It's like having your own delightful party clown in your basement. Everybody, get a clown in your basement.
Only if it's Simon Pegg.
Only if it's Simon Pegg. Well, I mean, he kept his friend in a shed, so it serves him right.
That is true.
I think
He did do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably going to watch that right now. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch The Invisible Man again. I got a whole day of watching junk.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great. I also... Never mind. I was going to talk about how my neck hurts, and I put Icy Hot on it. And now it doesn't hurt anymore, Tom.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad it doesn't hurt. I'm glad it doesn't hurt you.
Have you heard about the Icy Hot? Icy dulls the pain, and the hot relaxes it away.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad we put a plug in for Icy Hot at the end of this.
Folks, I want to tell you about our Patreon. Do you have any other comments?
No.
I have nothing else. I'm surprised we talked this long because I watched this movie and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say about this movie. It's good. I enjoyed it, and it's not hurting anybody, and I'm glad you didn't like it, frankly, because if we were both like, it's good, then this podcast would have been 15 minutes long. So, cool. Good job, Tom. Good job, us.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. Let me tell you folks about our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. Two very good shows that you should listen to.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's just my opinion.
They're very fine.
That's just my opinion. All right.
I believe they are quality programs you should be listening to. We also have a store at tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed where you can get t-shirts, stickers, mugs, masks. You can get masks.
You can get masks.
Yeah, just check it out if you want to.
The mask could be used as like underwear too if you want to be sexy.
That's true. If you want to really be a hardcore sexy, yeah, for sure.
The ear holes go like around each leg. You stretch them out around each leg, and then it's like a diaper, like a thong diaper.
Mm-hmm. Yep, a thong for your grundle.
Yeah, grundle thong.
Grundle thong. I guess it's all thongs, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
did we invent something? Are we geniuses, or is this terrible?
No, I think we're just assholes.
Okay, that's fair.
I think we're done.